Xenos, the alien factions that add loads of fun flavour to the Warhammer 40,000 universe. In this miniseries, I'm breaking down how each army plays and animating their army rules so you can get a better grasp of how they work. This time we're looking at every single Xenos faction in Warhammer 40,000. If you like this video, please consider liking it and subscribing to the channel. It really helps. And let me know which faction you think has the best army rule. First up, Aeldari, the mystic and mysterious space elves with battle focus. So at the start of the battle round, you receive a number of battle focus tokens based on the battle size. You can spend a battle focus token to enable a unit to perform one of the following agile maneuvers, and each one has a trigger and a corresponding effect. Number one is Swift as the Wind. Its trigger when an eligible unit from your army is selected to make a normal, advance, or fallback move. You can trigger this agile maneuver more than once per phase, provided a different unit performs it each time. The effect: until the end of the phase, add 2 inches to the move characteristic of models in that unit. Fitting Shadows. The trigger: when an eligible unit from your army is selected to make a normal, advance, fallback move, is set up on the battlefield, or declares a charge. Until the end of the turn, enemy units cannot use the Fire Overwatch stratagem to shoot at that target. Star Engines. Trigger: when an eligible vehicle unit from your army is selected to make a normal move. Until the end of the phase, add d6 plus 1 inches to the move characteristic of models in that unit. Sudden Strike. The trigger: when an eligible unit from your army is selected to fight. Until the end of the phase, each time a model in that unit makes a pile-in or consolidation move, it can move up to 6 inches instead of up to 3. Opportunity Seized. The trigger: when an enemy unit ends a fallback move. One eligible unit from your army that started the phase within engagement range of that unit can make a normal move of up to d6 plus 1 inches. Fade Back. The trigger: in your opponent's shooting phase, just after an enemy unit has shot, one eligible unit from your army that was hit by one or more of those attacks can make a normal move of up to d6 plus 1 inches. A unit is only eligible to perform an agile maneuver if it has not already performed an agile maneuver in the same phase. And you cannot trigger the same agile maneuver more than once per phase. At the end of the battle round, all unspent battle focus tokens are lost. So for this one, I'm going complexity mid and mastery hard. There's a lot here to remember effect-wise, but I reckon you'll likely be using a few of the same ones repeatedly and the other ones a bit more situationally. That being said, you've only got a limited pool of tokens to use, so you will be using them sparingly, and I think you'll always be second guessing on when to use certain effects. Why it's good. There's a huge amount of flexibility within this that your units can take advantage of. The Eldar are a bit of a glass cannon army, and this backs that up. Drukhari, the cruel denizens of Comera with power from pain. The Drukhari gain pain tokens and then can use these pain tokens to empower units. At the start of the battle, you gain pain tokens depending on the battle size. And each time an enemy unit is destroyed, you gain 1 pain token. And also, each time an enemy unit fails a battle shock test, you gain 1 pain token. Then to empower through pain, at the start of a relevant phase, you can expend 1 or more pain tokens from your pain token pool. Select 1 unit from your army. Until the end of the phase, that unit is empowered and gains the abilities listed. If it's the movement or charge phase, you can re-roll advance or charge rolls. If it's the shooting or fight phase, each time a model in that unit makes an attack, you can re-roll the hit roll. And if it's a melee attack, improve the armor penetration characteristic by 1. I think a complexity mid here, you've got an if this then that mechanic alongside a variable. Mastery-wise, this is hard. You start with a quite limited pool of tokens, and you need to expend them properly to generate more. The Drukhari are a scalpel, and you have to wield them as such to get the most out of them. Why it's good. Rerolling abilities are always really useful. This one rewards you for good plays with more tokens as well. So it's a snowball, but if you get it wrong, you are punished. Genestealer Cults, the front line of a Tyranid invasion fleet, awaiting Ascension Day with Cult Ambush. Okay, this is a big one. You start the battle with a number of resurgence points, depending on the battle's size. Each time a unit from your army is destroyed,
you can spend the relevant number of resurgence points based on the unit's starting strength to return them to the battle. If they are returned, they're placed in Cult Ambush.
Cult Ambush is kind of a type of strategic reserve.
The unit returns to its full strength with all of its wounds remaining and any one-shot weapons reloaded. You can then place a Cult Ambush marker anywhere on the battlefield that is more than 9 inches away from all enemy units.
At the end of the reinforcement step of your opponent's next movement phase, for each of your Cult Ambush markers still on the battlefield, you can select one unit from your army that is in Cult Ambush and set that unit up using the Cult Ambush marker. If an enemy model ends any kind of movement within 9 inches of a Cult Ambush marker that you've placed, that Cult Ambush marker is removed from the battlefield. Yeah, no surprises here. This one is both just hard and hard. There's a lot to remember here, the different resurgence points, where you're going to place all of your Cult Ambush markers. You'll likely need to keep a reference sheet for all of the different units you've got and figure out who you're going to bring out and where at what time. Why it's good. It's incredibly flavorful. This endless surge of revolutionary spilling out from the board is just great. I think this is one that you will need to learn concisely to inform your opponent of how it all works though. The Leagues of Votann, the NASA-punk space capitalist dwarves with Eye of the Ancestors. This army rule gives you judgment tokens. Each time an enemy unit destroys a unit from your army, that enemy unit gains 1 judgment token. An enemy unit can never have more than 2 judgment tokens. Each time a model from your army with this ability makes an attack that targets a unit that has 1 or more judgment tokens, it is an imminent threat, and you add 1 to your hit roll. If it has 2 judgment tokens, well, now we've got a grudge to settle. You add 1 to the hit roll and 1 to the wound roll. Very simple for this, easy and easy. It's another if this, then that mechanic. Keep an eye on who's killing your units and give them a marker. Why it's good. You get to slap back against your opponent's key units really easily, and the pluses to hit and wounds are just always handy. However, to get the most out of this, you probably want a few small, cheap, expendable units you can throw out to bait your opponent into destroying to start activating your tokens. You don't want to be generating this early game with your really expensive units. Necrons, the ancient robots of the galaxy with reanimation protocols. For this, at the end of your command phase, each unit from your army with this ability that is on the battlefield activates its reanimation protocols and reanimates D3 wounds. Each time a unit reanimates a wound, if that unit contains 1 or more models with fewer than their starting number of wounds remaining, select one of those models and that model regains 1 lost wound. If all models in that unit have their starting number of wounds, but that unit is not at its starting strength, 1 destroyed model is returned to that unit with a wound remaining. This then repeats for each wound reanimated, so check if a unit is missing wounds, heal it, and then if no wounds to heal, reanimate. Very easy, again, another if this then that mechanic. The wording takes a hot minute, but after that you're golden. Why it's good. Your army is just insanely resilient to damage. Your opponent has to commit everything into destroying units at the risk of them returning, which is just really good. Orks, the vast swathes of green space hooligans with Wah! Once per battle at the start of your command phase, you can call a War. If you do, until the start of your next command phase, the War is active for your army, and units from your army are eligible to declare a charge in a turn in which they advanced, which is amazing. Add 1 to the strength and attacks characteristics of melee weapons, and models from your army with the ability have a 5+ invulnerable save. This one I think is easy to learn, but the mastery is probably a bit more on the mid. It's a one-shot ability, and you need to pop it on the right turn to get the most out of it. And just figuring which turn can be a bit difficult at times. Why it's good. It's fun, simple, and quite a powerful thematic ability that really makes even a basic orc boy a real threat on the board. The Tau Empire, the new kids on the galactic block, with For the Greater Good. In your shooting phase, units from your army can work in pairs to help each other target specific enemy units. Each time you select the unit to shoot, select one other friendly unit with this ability that is also eligible to shoot. Until the end of the phase, this unit is considered a guided unit, and that friendly unit is considered an observer unit. Then, select one enemy unit that is visible to both of your units to be their spotted unit. Until the end of the phase, each time a model in the guided unit makes an attack that targets their spotted unit, improve the ballistic skill characteristic of the attack by 1. And if the observer unit has the marker-like keyword, the attack has the ignores cover ability. Each time a model in a guided unit makes an attack that doesn't target their spotted unit, so it targets a different unit, you worsen the ballistic skill characteristic of the attack by 1. So for the complexity, I think this is a mid and mastery mid. You need to be quite strategic about which pairs target what, and you shouldn't split fire with a unit, which really hampers things that should be targeting multiple units with different weapons, like a Storm Surge. Why it's good. The key thing with Tau is you're improving the ballistic skill, which means you can still use other abilities to add 1 to hit rolls and such, which is just insane. The Tyranids, the Great Devourer, with 2 army rules, Synapse and Shadow in the Warp. So, Synapse. While a Tyranids unit from your army is within 6 inches of 1 or more friendly Synapse models, that Tyranids unit is said to be within Synapse range, and each time that unit takes a Battle Shock test, that test is rolled on 3d6 instead of 2d6. And each time a model in that unit makes a melee attack, add 1 to the strength characteristic of that attack. Second army rule, Shadow in the Warp. Once per battle, in either player's command phase, you can unleash the Shadow in the Warp. When you do, each enemy unit on the battlefield must take a Battle Shock test. Each time an enemy unit takes such a Battle Shock test, if it is within 6 inches of 1 or more Synapse units from your army, subtract 1 from that test. Okay, I think this is easy complexity and mid mastery. There's a few bits you need to remember, but the harder part here will be when to unleash the Shadow in the Warp, which you'll need to time correctly. Why it's good. It's pretty simple, and I like the big shock that they can do. If you get lucky with it, you can negate your opponent from being able to do things like Overwatch, which is really great. So that's all the Xenos faction rules. In the next and final installment, we'll be looking at all of the different Chaos Army rules. If you've enjoyed this video, please consider liking and subscribing. And if you like the content I'm putting out, please consider signing up to my Patreon account from as little as £3 per month. Or if you'd like to instead, you can get me a pot of paint over on Ko-fi. If you'd like to chat to some fellow hobbyists and enthusiasts of the Warhammer 40,000 universe, please come and join my Discord channel. You can find a link in the description. Thanks very much, and we'll see you next time.